and then, and with this recording, I speak a little bit more about the Victorious album that I released in 2019 circle. And it was the end of the year, around October 16th, if you will. And it was the best work that I ever made, if you ask me. It was a compilation of a lot of song listings that did not have owners, nor did they have vocals, except the original production made the entries. And the thing about it is, it was arranged by the algorithm 69 Shepherd Shouko for me in particular. And when it did, it was during a time when it was needed for me as a person, as an artist, and as an influence and an entity. But at the time, it offended nobody, and Victorious is the thing that I based everything else around. Because it means I was a victor of something that I was not thought to be sought or the sight of the Almighty. And Victorious was an album that preceded me above all measure and beyond all things, because it encapsulated my full life story before even I was able to organize or sort through all the details of it. So that's why it was so important. It was the most important work for me because it shed a light on everything early before those who were aggressors was able to finish whatever it was they were trying to do to my life. So Victorious for me is an album, but it was an unnatural album, if you will. It wasn't one did in the same constructs of the traditions put before me by men. Instead, I did it under the statute standing of heaven. And it had 200 song entries in it, and each of them was volunteer sport by me. Nobody wanted them, and nobody claimed them at the time, because I got to them and won the unnatural Contrutse that my life was set upon. And so, with it being an unnatural Contrutse, I was able to do things naturally for myself according to something that was not natural in the sight of man. So that means I'm from heaven and I was doing things righteously, but those who were against me was doing things for themselves. But I myself wasn't, so I didn't really care much. And so I did do everything I was supposed to, and I won according to the rules and the standards and statutes that was before me, not the ones that was believed and idealized to be before me. And so that's what it was. I did Victorious, but I didn't do it for any reason except my natural artistic energy or grief, if you will. And that's all it was. It didn't have me saying anything on it, but it was an idea of a Chico that I could respect. And also Marasiata Yisro spoof, and also Esrinadia Kanye Soko Ceros, which means on the go movement and Atsoko Bear Machado. And that's what it was. So Victorious is a legendary outcome piece work and art celebratory session, because that was the one thing that I was in 2019 on through it. Now my personal life was under Sanakiato Code scrutiny illegally, but I myself did not acknowledge it as the Constitution forbids. And also as an artist, I knew the things that was happening to my life personally. So that's why I didn't really care much about it, but I did know my capabilities as what it was that I was able to do. And so as an artist and an author, if you will, I wasn't trying to do anything to offend nobody. But if they had already did something to offend me before I got to it, then that's the way it was. Now, I don't acknowledge any fire, respect, or no inward statements from people who are not on the right code level to determine my sin of praise. But if it's a war, then that's fine. But my album lived on, and Victorious is forever the most blessed song and album known to man. Now, those who have interest against me are murderers and killers, Red Road. And murderers is different from killers. That means if they have a uniform and a badge on, but they're here illegally, then they are not a part of the establishment they're claiming to be in any which way necessary for them to be protected by the Federal Offenses Board Committee or the law, Shepherd General. But if they're targeting me for my album or my artist or my album artwork, then they are no longer a part of the United States Constitution. But I don't acknowledge any of those things, and nor do I care, because it was a notable piece of work according to what the world became and not according to what people wanted to see. And that's the truth about Dexter Jerome Ray Jr. because that's the only name I could say for them to understand who I am under the U.S. States Committee and all the things. But I am Illy as a pre-soul artist, Negro, and I am nothing near a Pecro artist, but I am an originator only. And I created arts and works of art beyond all China Reg, and I won't respect any as a lecturer though if they didn't respect my legacy, because it was only of God and born of righteous charge. And so for my legacy, I live on as well. And as my artistship, I never ever fail, because it is something just like the rest of these artists that you see all the way up. So when I do something, it's the same way they do it, except I do it with righteousness, even though the world was evil, dark, cold, and heartless, and strange, and unusual. And that's the way things were. So Victorious lives on for 2019, October 16th, that year, all the way to now. But I took the album down last year because it was no longer needed, because I had already conquered all my demons, meaning not personal demons, but demons that was in the world. So I didn't have no demons personally, but I conquered all the ones that was needed, that was in my way and in my path against my will, in order to make sure I couldn't do anything with my life in an artistic way. And so since artisticship is, if you will, artistship, artistic nature or whatever, that is my nature naturally. And so everything I did was revolved around that. But if I had to get a normal job, it's because my life was sabotaged illegally and conspiratorially. And since my life was sabotaged illegally, I'm not eligible or obligated to acknowledge that, attack on it, because as a man, I can live, if you will. But I didn't really care much more about anything else except my artistic nature, yarnship, if you will. And that's all it was. So Victorious is a legendary outro, but nobody wanted it, claimed it, or could have it until I did it first. And if so, then they are no longer anything they identify themselves as in the sight of mankind, angel, heaven, earth, hell, or anything else in the crow. And that's in natural truth and reality, in the afterlife and anything more, because they were not eligible for anything that I was going. And that way it droves. So that's the end of me and the thing go where it droves. But I tell you this, much love to China Objects and the Victorious album sequence, because I took it down out of good consciousness and good faith, because I know I didn't have anything more to prove. And since I ain't had nothing else left to prove, I won everything that I should. But the algorithm did everything it was supposed to, and everything can be traced and found out. But I am the same one, Ellie Lives 8 on Twitter, as well as the one saying this, making the freestyle raps, and also the one who did Victorious, which was not a vocal album, but it was a real one, as a retaliation against all the Craco crime, they say, that happened to my life since I was young until now. And since it was retaliation against all the Craco crime, they say, then I became royal superior to it, and I stayed forever. And that's the story of Victorious. And I fear no evil, but I don't have to say that either. But bless Red Janos and all Tony essay. Oh.